Welcome to Tales from Panperipta, where clouds wear capes and dreams drift on starlit winds. Each episode brings you gentle, whimsical bedtime stories set in the vast and magical realm of Panperipta, a world full of sleepy trolls, moon-sweeping tinkers, and curious frog inventors. Whether you're here to unwind or doze off, you're always welcome in Panperipta. Take a deep breath and drift.
In the dewdrop-dappled realm of Panperipta, where hedgerows hold council meetings and acorns roll uphill on moonlit nights, there lived a tiny knight named Sir Brambletack of Thimblehold. Sir Brambletack was no taller than a gooseberry, but braver than a badger in boots. He lived in the thistled fortress of Thimblehold, where the guards rode beetles and their arrows were acorn caps. Brambletack spent most days writing heroic poems about minor scuffles, like the time he saved a berry tart from ants, and most nights patrolling the borders of the bramble wall with a thimble for a helmet and a dandelion for a banner. But one afternoon, as the sun dozed behind the hills, he received a curious letter. It arrived folded like a snail's shell and sealed with a wet swirl of slime. "Dear Sir Brambletack, something very slow and very strange has taken over my garden. I fear it may smother all my pansies. Please come at your fastest possible pace. Yours in squish, Lady Hazelnip, Duchess of the Squirrel Fiefdom." Sir Brambletack sniffed the paper. He knew that scent. "Oh no," he whispered, "it's the snail of dire slowness." Chapter 1. The Slow March begins. Brambletack packed essentials, a peanut biscuit, his poetry notebook, and a mini sword carved from a sewing needle. He mounted his beetle steed, Chitters, and galloped out of Thimblehold with great urgency, by which we mean slightly faster than average walking pace. The garden was as he feared, eerily still. The pansies drooped. The squirrels were napping in their battle vests. Even the wind seemed to be holding its breath. Then, with a sound like 4 seconds of slurp, he saw it. The snail. It was the size of a large pumpkin and moved with such profound slowness that it warped the pace of time around it. A bee froze mid-buzz. A robin hovered mid-song. Sir Brambletack dismounted, drew his tiny sword, and cleared his throat. "O slime walker, ponderer of pavement," he called, "thou hast trespassed in hasteless despair. I must ask thee to kindly move." The snail blinked once. Brambletack sighed. "This'll take diplomacy." Chapter 2. A Poem for the Sluggish. Knowing the snail spoke in rhythm, Sir Brambletack flipped open his notebook and began to recite, "O traveler slow and mighty of pace, thy trail leaves silver, thy shadow leaves space, but pansies wither and tempers bend. Might I request you move round the bend?" The snail blinked again, its eyes trembled, and a single tear of slime slid down its face. It was lonely. Brambletack sheathed his needle sword. I've a better idea. He invited the snail on a parade of proper pace, a celebration of slow motion. Creatures from across the hedgerows gathered to cheer its march. Turtles held banners, worms rolled in formation, and the moss orchestra played their leaf flutes. The snail, pleased and proud, began to move in a deliberate spiral away from the garden. Chapter 3. The Order of the Slowed. For his efforts, Brambletack was knighted again by a robin who bestowed upon him the Order of the Slowed, a medal awarded only to those who achieved peace through patience. He celebrated modestly with a new poem titled Ode to the Oozing March, and returned to Thimblehold with fanfare, from a flute-playing grasshopper, no less. Chapter 4. Beetle Dreams and Hedge Honors. That night, under a sky freckled with stars, Brambletack stood on the ramparts of his fortress, sipping berry tea and scratching chitters behind the wing plates. "Some battles are swift," he said aloud, "but the noblest are slow." Chitters chirped approvingly, and far off, somewhere past the hedgerows, a snail hummed in its sleep. Epilogue. A new letter. Weeks later, another snail-sealed letter slid under his door. "Thank you for saving my garden." Enclosed, a single pansy pressed with gratitude. Sincerely, Lady Hazelnip. Brambletack pinned the pansy beside his sword. Then he wrote a haiku. Story 2. Grundle and the Jar of Unshared Dreams. In the stone moss realm of Panperipta, where bridges whisper ancient jokes and books hum lullabies from their shelves, there lived a troll librarian named Grundle the Gentle. Grundle had skin like whetstone and eyes like puddles after rain. He lived under the Whisper Bridge in a domed library carved from river rock, where the walls were lined with jars, each one glowing faintly, filled with dreams he'd collected while others slept. He labeled them carefully. 1034. A dream of flying mittens. 1042. A grandmother's soup that sings. 1177. A bubble that knows your name. But one night, just before bedtime, a jar began to rattle, one he hadn't noticed before. It was labeled Dream Number 0000 Untold. It wasn't glowing. It was empty. Except it wasn't. Grundle could feel something inside, something wanting out. Chapter 1. The Hollow Dream. He opened the jar. Nothing came out, but the air shimmered with the faintest sound, like a yawn waiting to begin. Grundle looked out across the brook. The air shimmered there, too. He knew where he had to go. Packing a satchel of warm stones, marshmallow bark, and a dream thread net, he set off for the unshaped hollow, a place where half-dreams gathered, things unsaid drifted, and forgotten lullabies echoed without words. There, he found a child-shaped fog curled beneath a willow tree. Chapter 2, The Half-Remembered Sleeper. It didn't speak, only reached toward him, eyes unsure. Grundle sat. "What's your name?" he asked. The fog shook its head. No name, or no one spoke in it. Stillness. He offered his thermos of warm oat milk and a single dream jar, one filled with a memory of a rocking chair and a mother's hum. The fog softened. He'd found not a dream, but a dreamer lost between sleeps, who never quite finished resting, never quite began imagining. Chapter 3, The Shared Story. Grundle told the child stories of teacups that dreamed, of clouds that wept petals, of friends who spoke through silence. With each story, the fog flickered into color. Together, they made a new dream, one woven of moss and memory and bedtime bravery. He placed it into the jar, sealed it, and gently whispered, "You belong." Chapter 4, Homeward in Harmony. When he returned to the library, the new jar glowed with a gentle rose-hued light. It was labeled Dream Number 0000, Shared. Grundle placed it at the center of the wall, and every night after, whenever a dream trembled or flickered, he'd sit beside it and whisper stories, just in case someone needed to find their way back. Epilogue, A Whisper from the Bridge. The whisper bridge above his home echoed that night. "Thank you," it murmured, older than stone. Grundle smiled, set down his book, and drifted into a dream of his own. Story 3, Tilly Thimblewish and the Vanishing Lie. In the glint-leaf realm of Panperipta, where the trees giggle when tickled by wind and fireflies spell secrets in Morse, there lived a forest fairy named Tilly Thimblewish. Tilly was about the size of a squirrel's sneeze and exactly twice as curious. She lived inside a curled leaf cottage strung with chimes made of laughter, and she was known across the woods as a truth finder, mostly because of Blip, her tiny floating lantern that lit up whenever someone spoke honestly. But one morning, Blip didn't glow. Not even when Tilly admitted to hiding 6 biscuits in her sock drawer. She gasped. That could only mean one thing. Someone in the forest had told a lie so big, so sneaky, so unresolved, that truth itself had gone dim. Chapter 1, The Fib Print Trail. Tilly zipped through the forest, Blip trailing dimly behind her. Normally it glowed when squirrels talked about acorn taxes or when hedgehogs fibbed about bedtime. But now, nothing. Then she spotted it, a shimmer in the air like a sneeze of glitter. A fib print. Only lies leave those behind. She followed it past the tickle-tree hollow, through the rumor reeds, and straight into the wobblewood, a patch of tangled trees where nothing stayed in one place for long. And that's where she found him, a small fox named Kip, sitting with his tail wrapped tight, whispering nervously to a pebble. Chapter 2. Kip the Pretender. "I didn't mean to," Kip said before Tilly could even scold him. "It started small. I said I wasn't scared of the dark, but then I had to prove it. So I said I wrestled a moon shadow, then a thunder ghost. Then I invented thunder. It got away from me." Tilly floated beside him, arms crossed. "You invented thunder, huh?" Kip nodded shamefully. Blip flickered weakly. "You're not the only one who's fibbed, Kip," she said gently. "But lies build ladders you can't climb down from, and they don't lead anywhere worth going." "I don't know how to stop," he admitted. She landed beside him, resting her tiny lantern on his paw. "Then let's start with one little truth." Chapter 3. One truth at a time. "I'm scared of frogs," Kip whispered. Blip flickered. "I've never been past the Fern River." Blip glowed. "I only pretend to like beetle stew." Blip lit up like a firecracker. They both laughed. They played a game called True or Chew, where every truth made Blip brighter, and every fib meant Kip had to chew on a pine cone. He chewed a few. As the light returned, the forest around them seemed to settle. The rumor reeds stopped echoing nonsense. The tickle-tree hollow sighed in relief. Chapter 4. The Lantern That Glowed Again. When Blip was fully lit again, it did something unexpected. It spun. "I think it likes you," Tilly said. "Really?" "Well, it hasn't bitten you yet, so yes." Kip laughed for the first time in a while. Tilly gave him a truth leaf, a charm made from honesty and leaf ink that glowed when his heart felt fuzzy with falsehood. "Use it when you're tempted to pretend," she said, "or when you want to remember who you really are." Epilogue. Fib free and flying. Tilly returned to her curled leaf cottage that evening, Blip bobbing cheerfully at her side. She had one less biscuit in her drawer. She gave it to Kip, and one more truth in her heart, that even a tangled tale can find its way back to truth, one honest word at a time. She wrote the day's adventure on a whisper scroll and tucked it under her pillow. Then, to no one in particular, she said, "I like who I am." And Blip lit the room like a star.
Panperipta grows quiet for now, but its skies still shimmer and its stories never sleep. Stay as long as you like. Another tale is always waiting. Take a deep breath and drift.